All right, it is 6:02, and we're going to call the meeting to order. We have a quorum.
Yes, sir.
So you're going to hear we're talking a little more than usual, so we don't have a secretary tonight, so. Any public comments?
I don't believe so, sir.
Okay, no public comments. We'll go to the consent agenda. Is there anything that the board wants to discuss, or do we consider taking a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we pass the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion passes.
We're not seeing that come up yet. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Thank you.
All right, motion passes. Okay, so we have our action items, and this is an application. Oh no, we're not doing 4A. We're doing 4B first. Yeah, no. And so this is an application for a Type 3 site plan for a future car wash. And so we'll discuss and consider taking any action regarding the approval of a Type 3 site plan for a 0.95 acres of land and for a future development of a car wash. And the application is the Beach Club Car Wash. And this is for case number SP 25008. We have staff summary.
Is it up on all those screens? Perfect. Hey, good evening, P&Z commissioners. My name's Robbie Highfield. I'm the senior planner for the City of Fate. I'll be giving the staff presentation for Beach Club Car Wash Type 3 Site Plan, Project ID SP 25008. So this is the location just west of North Bend Payne and Highway 66, on the north side of Highway 66. It's a 0.95 acre lot, currently undeveloped land in the Wood Creek PD Commercial District. This project's a car wash with vacuum stalls. It's part of the larger Modus Wood Creek commercial development going along that entire Bend Payne and 66 corner. And normally this is a site plan, and while site plans are normally type 1, meaning they're administratively reviewed at the staff level, the Wood Creek PD section 4.E states that development in commercial districts shall be subject to site plan submittal approval by Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. That's what elevates this to a Type 3 site plan. Before we get into the approval criteria, site plans aren't discretionary items. If you think of it like a checklist, if they hit all of our code requirements, all the requirements of the PD, they should be approved or approved with conditions. So, going into the approval criteria, the application shall comply with ordinances adopted by the city and conform to design requirements and construction standards. After staff review, staff finds that this project's consistent with the design standards laid out in the Wood Creek PD and in Article 5, which is the design standards in the FATE UDO. Approval criteria B, does the proposed provision and configuration of public improvements, is it adequate to serve the development? After review, staff find that the water and wastewater utilities are available to the site, and that the project is coordinating with the overall development area, specifically 7-Eleven that most of you have seen going up at that corner. Additionally, the civil plans are being reviewed administratively. Those do not elevate, the Wood Creek does not elevate those to a P&Z or council review, but they are being reviewed administratively. Criterion C for type 3 site plans, the application should comply with federal, state jurisdiction regulations, includes but not limited to TxDOT, wetlands, water quality, erosion control, wastewater regulations. The TxDOT right-of-way along this property is accommodated in the site plan and minor plat. There's no wetlands or floodplain on this property to consider, and it's going to be adequately served by city sewer. So criterion C is considered met. Criterion D, all applications should comply with any adopted or approved interlocal agreements. There are none in this case. And should comply with any other affected public entities or applicable MUDs. There are no conflicts in that case, so criterion D is met. E is referring to your ability to impose conditions reasonably calculated to achieve or maintain compliance with the approval criteria. Staff has one condition that we'll be recommending. We'll get to that once we finish the approval criteria. Decision-making body may incorporate or require as part of a condition approval a written agreement between the applicant and the city. This type 3 site plan will be when it goes to council, would be, if approved by council, would be a resolution. That resolution effectively acts as a written agreement because it's an adopted resolution recorded with the city. Criterion G is the application shall also be generally consistent with the comp plan and other adopted documents. This portion on the future land use plan is supportive commercial, and car washes are compatible within that place type. So while we normally do fiscal analyses, because this isn't a discretionary item and it is sort of that checklist that I had mentioned earlier, in this case we did not conduct a fiscal analysis. So staff's recommendation is to approve with conditions, and that one condition being that driveway exiting onto Highway 66 shall be a right-in, right-out, as shown on the approved modus shops at Wood Creek civil plans, city file number CIV 23-020. And that's it. I can take any questions now or after the applicant.
Any questions, or you want to wait for the applicant?
I have a question for Robbie.
Okay.
So I would like to just kind of get some clarification. And this is about your condition for approval. Now, the entrance that you're talking about is the one that's just on 66, correct?
Correct.
Is there a second entrance, is my first question, off of Ben Payne?
So there's the current entrance that's part of the 7-Eleven.
Okay.
This is an entrance that would be to the west. You can actually see it on the satellite image.
Okay.
Should be this one right here if I'm lining
Okay,
up my land.
but there
correctly.
is a second entrance somewhere else?
Correct,
Okay.
and that one is right in, right out.
Okay,
So there's
perfect.
no full movement, no left turn.
Now, when it comes to this condition, with it being right in, right out, is it within the purview of adding to the condition of how that is achieved? Is if it's achieved by curbs or if it's achieved by signage? Because we've been down the road where we've had signage and it don't work. So I didn't know if that was something that we can put in as part of the condition, that it had to be curb cuts going right in, right out. Does that
So
make sense?
it's designed by the traffic study. That's what dictates that it's a right in, right out.
Okay.
And the traffic study has those recommendations of how it should be designed.
Okay.
In theory, you could put conditions on it, but it'd kind of be, the civil plans are required to have approval of the traffic study kind of covers that already. They're going to be required to adequately account for traffic. Does that answer your question?
Yes, for the most part, yes. I just didn't know if there was where we can make sure that it's not just signage.
So it's a pork chop. So
So
it's a raised curb.
Just some kind of barrier to stop people from.
Yes, there's
That's
a
what I'm asking for.
barrier pork chop design that functionally forces you to turn right
Yes,
out.
but we would not have to put that in our motion to recommend with the staff recommendations. Just saying it just the way, if we were to motion this in the future, we wouldn't have to add additional to put that in there because that's already set there.
No, it's part, this condition right here includes that they have to, it's shown on the approved civil plans for that property already.
Okay.
Ryan, would you like to add on?
No, I think you got it. The TIA requires this exit to be a right in, right out,
Okay.
and there's a pork chop in the approved civil plans for Modus, so we're set.
That's what I needed to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, I have one. I just thinking about the water plans and the water issues we had countywide. I just want to understand that's not really an issue for us, no matter how many I think water intensive uses we have at all. That's just something I wanted to ask generically. That may be a question for Ryan. That's a broad question, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there.
If you don't mind. So technology at car washes has changed quite a bit over the last few years, and there's a lot of water recapture and recycling going on. And the applicant doesn't have a presentation, but they're able to answer maybe some of those technical questions if there are some outstanding. But my understanding is that they can recycle at least 60% of the water they use per wash. It goes through a filter and it gets reused, so that it doesn't have the same kind of water demand that you might expect as some of the old style car washes would have had.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, I have one question, just because I'm new and I don't know what I'm doing. Do we know what else is planned for that area? I mean, there's 7-Eleven and now a car wash. What else do we know?
So in that in-between section, let me go to my satellite image here. Are you able to see my cursor? Okay, so we got 7-Eleven over here, a car wash over here. There's just the daycare. I believe I saw dirt moving up here. There's a daycare up here. And then this section is essentially a shell building, so it just means it's a building with a bunch of move-in suites. That can either be move-in ready or custom designed. We don't know any exact users at this time, and but we have seen the site plan for.
Yeah, we do know that the easternmost suite is in Action Behavior Centers, but none of the other ones have been explicitly named as far as we know.
One other question. If you're looking at this map, those are plats for other homes, right, behind the car wash?
Yes, this is Wood Creek 8A.
Is there any concern for noise with the vacuums?
The vacuums are off to the side. So because of the Wood Creek PD has a 25-foot side setback, so in order to mitigate to the extent possible, the order board is actually on the west side, the stacking lane goes around, and then the vacuums are on that east side. There's also a screening wall required in the back that ideally will tamper some of the noise. On top of that, there is a city noise ordinance, so if there ever were a complaint regarding excessive noise, we do have other ordinances in the city that if they were in violation of the noise ordinance, there are enforceable rules in that case.
Robbie, can you go to slide 4, please? I do want to point out, this was probably our number one concern because of the proximity of the site to residential. It's an entitled use. We couldn't say no to the use because that was part of the original
guys.
PD. The applicant team, not only are they going to be putting in a 6-foot masonry wall on the northern property boundary, but as you can see just north of that queue of cars, they have a secondary screen wall adjacent to the drive-through as well because of the change in the grade. This site's a lot higher than the homes. So we worked with them and they were very, responsive to this request, and they're putting a secondary wall next to the drive-through to prevent noise from the wash bay as well as the vacuums. So they'll have 2 mitigating walls between that and the activity and the houses.
Ryan, I think you hit up on my next question, which is like the car wash does sit significantly higher than those homes. And like, I know you mentioned the technology earlier, but I just want to really make sure that the runoff's not going to be hitting those homes because I mean, any runoff is going to be like directly to those homes.
Yeah, and Justin with the applicant team might be able to speak to some of the technical parts of it, but it's all going to be captured. It's all being captured within, are you talking about like stormwater runoff or runoff from the actual operation?
I mean, mainly the actual operation, yeah.
So that's all captured and goes into the sewer system. There's no free flow of the water. It all flows into catch basins and goes into filters and gets reused and then ultimately into the sewer system. The stormwater runoff, to be thorough, if you look on the upper end of that site, there's actually a drainage swale on the northern end of the property, and that box right next to the property boundary, that's actually a catch basin where the water flows through the drainage swale and goes into that catch basin, and then that dotted line that goes to the south from there, that's the storm pipe that will grab that water and take it to the State Highway 66 right of way.
Thank you.
Okay. One more question. I thought I was done, but I'm not. So in the packet, it had the schematics of what the building was going to go, it was looking like. And I know what caught my attention is, Ryan, you had said that the elevation of this property is higher than the neighborhood behind it. And I'm just trying to figure out, based on this picture, there is a portion of this building that sits just shy of 25 feet. Is that towards the back of the building or is that towards the front of the building? Because of the proximity of the houses, are they going to be staring at a two-story car wash right out their windows?
So the houses are lower than this site is.
Okay.
So the building is also closer to the front. So
Okay.
this right here is the actual wash bay itself.
Mm-hmm.
The vacuums are right here, and then obviously you have as Ryan mentioned, you have the 6-foot
Yeah.
masonry wall. So unless they're super, super tall, I don't think they're going to be seeing the car wash bay.
No, and it's not so much about the car wash bay, but the elevation of the building, a portion of it is 25 feet tall. Is that towards 66, or is that towards the north side of this plat? It's not, you didn't have the schematics in this particular presentation, but it was in the packet.
It's towards the exit, which is going to be this front area.
Okay, that actually makes more sense, but thank you for that.
I do have one question, and only because my neighbors mentioned it with a different project. What's the distance between the 2 walls, and who's going to maintain the weeds that grow up?
Looks to be
Terry, do you mean the masonry wall at the northern property boundary and the presumed wooden fences that would go for the residential units?
Yes.
So we have the fortune this time to actually have this commercial development coming in at the same time that those houses are being constructed. Oftentimes, these neighborhoods are built way ahead of time, get established, and then the commercial comes in later. In this case, Wood Creek 8A is under construction now, so this masonry wall is actually going to be the back wall for those homes. We're coordinating with the builder now, so there aren't two lines of walls right next to each other with a big, mow strip in between them. So that's how we want things to work, and we're glad that it seems to be working that way this time. So you don't have to worry about those dual walls in this case.
Okay, I just mentioned it because you've seen the sunflowers.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect, thanks, so.
And so we have a applicant presentation.
Sir, we don't actually have a presentation. They're just available to answer any questions that you might have.
And-
But
and
she
I-
can introduce herself, yeah.
And I do have a question for her.
Perfect, yes. I'm Brittany Pierce with the Beach Club team. We're very excited to come into Fate. The city staff has just been fantastic to work with. So I'm Director of Development. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Yeah, we don't have a formal presentation. And then we also have our architect, Mr. Justin Cassidy, who's joining via Teams with us as well, if you have any site plan-specific questions.
If you do, I just have an operational
Yes, sir.
question. So looking at it, it looks like that, the doors can, open and close. This is not operating 24/7. There will be normal operating hours?
Excellent question. So we do, technically, we have the ability, if we, if everything worked out where we could operate 24/7, just because it is a fully automated facility. A customer can pull up, purchase a wash, go through the machine without an attendant. But yes, absolutely, we will have normal operating hours within the city. Yeah. So yes, correct, we will.
All right. And there would be an individual on site, certainly not
Yeah.
late hours, but normal.
Correct, yeah, so we do have a designated site attendant or site manager that will be on site, available to help customers, obviously keeping the site tidy, trash, regular maintenance on the wash, but it is essentially one person that's on site from the beach club side. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to expand upon his question.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a tad. I know you're going to have set hours of operation. I have a twofold question. Do you have a typical set of hours of operation that you usually use at your other sites?
It varies from city to city. We do, transparently, we do have some that are in a little bit more rural areas where we do operate the 24-hour schedule, 24/7 schedule. And then there's one in Fort Worth we're going into where I think the agreed upon hours are like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So kind of a 12-hour set schedule. We are open to feedback and negotiation with the city on that for sure.
And then the second part of that question is, I know the bays will be closed during your non-hours of operation, but will the vacuums still be accessible during those hours
They will
of
be
operation?
accessible but not usable, so the producer will be turned off.
Turned off,
Yeah,
okay.
they're not able to actually use the vacuum.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, thank you.
And just one note on the noise, too. Really, we have several noise studies we can share. We haven't done one that's specific to the Fate site, but we have several professional third-party noise sound studies that we've done on other sites that show really where the noise is contained. And just transparently, the vacuums really don't produce much noise. It's the blowers and the dryers at the exit of the tunnel where most of the noise is being generated, and that is at the north end of our site, so on the exit. So it's the furthest point away from the residential housing as well. So just one thing I wanted to point out, that is actually as far away as it could possibly be from the residences. Yeah.
To clarify, that's the south side.
South side, excuse me. Yeah, sorry. Yes, thank you, Robbie.
Okay, I have one more question, again, because I don't know what I'm supposed to ask or don't ask. We are going to have 3 car washes, like, really close together. Does that bother anybody?
Well, that's a good question. Obviously, people are asking that question because all of a sudden, the city that had no car washes has 3. And so, but to be fair, 2 of them are kind of close together. This one's on the other side of town. This one's all the way over on the west side of 66. The way that we manage uses on property is through zoning, and zoning is a classification, it's a category, we don't get so specific that we say, you can have this use or you can't have that use unless it's something that's prohibited or allowed in a zoning district. So once you have a property zoned, there's a list of uses that are allowed that you're entitled to be able to establish on the property. And at that point, the city doesn't have a say anymore. And so this property's been zoned this way since 2002. And so just now they're finally coming around to developing it. Same with the property on I-30 and then on the north side over by Staggs. Those have all gone through the appropriate zoning process. And then after that, car wash happened to be one of the uses within that list of allowed uses. So that's why we're seeing these pop up, because now we have the critical mass of population. We're seeing a lot of traffic going through the city. Operators are seeing an opportunity now that they think that they can meet a demand. And at some point, they're going to do market studies, see that there's three brand new car washes in town. They're like, yeah, I'm not going to invest $1 million here because I don't think I'm going to be able to fulfill what I need from the demand that's in the city.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So I don't see on here where we have for a public hearing.
No, sir, there is no public hearing for this item. This is simply a procedural step required by the plan development, so it really just goes to deliberation and a vote at this point.
Okay, I just wanted to be thorough. All right, well, with that, if we don't have any questions or comments?
Can I ask one more question to the department? One of the things that I asked is, and you asked, was about hours of operation. Is that something that we would want to put in as a condition of recommendation, or is that something that's decided separately?
You could certainly do that if you wished. It would be a recommended condition that would go to council.
Okay.
But I maybe would advise making sure that they would align with that, with their operational needs.
Now I'm confused.
All right, so if we're gonna make a recommendation, we have staff recommendations, and then if you wanted to add that, then that would be a recommendation to council to consider hours, but now I'm looking at our attorney, because there would probably need to be a conversation to understand what is acceptable between the vendor here and for operations and what makes sense, so.
It would be a motion to add conditions, correct? That's what, it would just be a motion to add conditions, and then we would discuss it, correct? If whoever wants to make that motion. Okay.
All right, so I'll look at making a motion.
I will make a motion to recommend the Type 3 site plan for case SP 25-008 and include the staff recommendations for right turn, right out, and add an additional recommendation for specific site hours to be discussed.
Perhaps a better way to do that, and go ahead, would be to make a recommendation on what those hours should be. Once that's seconded, then there's a discussion, which could include the applicant, and we could hash that out, and then you could amend the motion if that deliberation results in a change to the hours.
So do I say the whole motion again, since we didn't have a second? Or do I just change what I said? This is procedural stuff that I
Yeah.
don't know.
So it's probably I would recommend that we figure out what hours perhaps ask the applicant. It's going to help you make the motion if you know the hours. It's just going to make it easier.
I would currently like to withdraw the motion I just made so we can talk to the applicant again.
Would you come up and,
I mean, I don't know if I'm in a position to formally commit to operation hours right now. That's something I'd like to discuss further with the team, but I will say we're very open to working with the city and definitely coming to a reasonable agreement on that. We're not looking to operate outside of kind of standard hours, for sure. We want to make sure we're very good tenants to the community, so.
You could perhaps say that in your motion that there would be stated hours, posted hours of operation to be agreed upon between the Director of Planning and the applicant following approval of the site plan.
What are your normal operating hours?
Yeah, and again, it kind of varies location and city by city. Like we have some where we operate 24/7, some where it's 8 to 8, some where we do like 7 to 10 p.m. So there's variance there. So we just want to make sure we're, in agreement with what the city would like to. We have some flexibility on it. We do. I mean, we obviously we want as many hours as we can get open, but.
Yeah, I think we're just obviously trying to strike the balance between some sort of like, at least some sort of condition, so it backs up against those homes, and we just don't want a 24-hour car wash
I would
there.
love to propose 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. then.
Yeah,
If that's helpful.
I think my thing is I just don't want it in the middle of the night, like car wash running, and so
Yeah.
like us being as, friendly to the business as possible while still creating some guidelines. And I think as Ryan said, we don't have to set them here. I mean, we can set them here or whatever, but I just want to make sure that there's not, in the middle of the night, there's not car washes running. So I think that's the only thing we're trying to avoid here. And I think
Absolutely.
they understand
Yeah,
that as well,
absolutely. Yeah.
with it backing up to houses. We're just trying to kind of figure out how to structure it, if that makes sense, in our recommendation.
Able to hear me?
There's somebody on.
Oh, Justin? Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. You want to
No,
invite?
that's okay.
Go ahead, Justin, if you can hear us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking maybe as a happy medium, since we do have to go to council on this in a couple of weeks, the motion to approve includes a condition that we'll negotiate with planning and have a defined set of hours before the council hearing or at the council hearing. That way, it gives Brittany an opportunity to talk to her team, and it also allows you to have some, warm and fuzzies, if you want to call it that, in terms of making sure that we're actually going to negotiate with the city in good faith.
I thank you for that input, voice from the sky. Just if is that something that we could put in a motion? Just because, I think a great way to start is looking at our noise ordinance and probably, having it start maybe an hour after the noise ordinance starts for the day and then end an hour before the noise ordinance to kind of like get through all those things that are still going on, that kind of thing. So, but I like that. I just got to figure out how to say it in a motion. Hey, Mr. Voice in the Sky, can you say exactly what you just said so I can write that down so I can, because it sounded really good.
Yeah, sure. And I'm Justin Cassidy, by the way, with Remote Design Group, project architect. I didn't introduce myself. Good evening. I had said that motion to approve with the condition that Beach Club will negotiate with the City of Fate Planning Department in the interim weeks before the city council hearing in September to land on a set of operating hours that everybody's happy with.
thank you, Justin.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for me? Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, round two. Do we have a motion?
We do, and I know what I'm doing this time. So I would like to make a motion to recommend approval of the Type 3 site plan for case number SP 25-008 to include staff recommendations and an additional recommendation that Beach Club Car Wash will negotiate with the Planning and Zoning Department to determine a set of operation hours prior to council presentation.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a second. All vote. All right, motion passes. Thank you. All right, item 4A. This is an application for approval of a zoning change request, agriculture to neighborhood commercial to allow for drive-through coffee shop plus a walk-up order window. This is a straight zoning request and therefore will be subject to the department standards outlined in the Fate Unified Development Ordinance, Code of Ordinance, and design criteria and construction standards. The general location is on the west side of West East Crawford, approximately 230 feet southwest of the intersection of Black Oak and west east of Crawford. This is case number ZR 25008. And we have a staff summary.
Yes, sir, we do.
Do you want the Teams call ended?
Sorry?
Did you want the Teams
Yes.
call?
All right, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Ryan Wells. I'm the Director of Planning and Development Services. I'll be giving the staff presentation for the Huey's Coffee zoning request, project ID ZR 25008. Turn on all my gadgets here. All right, as the chairman said, this is a straight zoning request, which means that there's no bells and whistles. It's just trying to change the zoning of this property from one zoning district to another zoning district. Currently, the property is zoned agriculture, and the requested zoning district is neighborhood commercial, or the abbreviation is NC. And again, the reason for this request is the applicant wishes to develop a drive-through and walk-up coffee shop on W.E. Crawford Avenue. Here's a map of the property. It's a recent aerial of the property, of course, is delineated by the yellow line. It is a single lot totaling 0.912 acres located on W.E. Crawford Drive, or also FM 551, immediately north of the Lafayette Crossing mixed-use development. Currently zoned agriculture and currently is vacant with some little, remnants of structures on there, but there's no current existing structures on there. So being a straight zoning case, there are 3 criteria from the Unified Development Ordinance that staff evaluate when coming up with our recommendation. That is whether the application meets the comprehensive plan and other adopted plans, whether it takes into consideration the character of the surrounding neighborhood, and whether there are any other factors required or allowed by Texas law and case law. So criterion A is whether it's compatible with the comprehensive plan and other adopted plans. The Forward Fate Comprehensive Plan was adopted in October 2021 and assigned this property and surrounding properties a place type of dynamic neighborhood. Now again, the comp plan is a high-level establishment or assignment of allowed uses based on kind of general character of the area. What I like to say is that when the comp plan tells you what can go where, and then the zoning tells you how much of it can go there. So it's a kind of a level of intensity and more prescribed details. So the dynamic neighborhood place type, which is all the pink stuff on that image you see here is all dynamic neighborhood, allows neighborhood commercial zoning, which is the proposed zoning district, as a representative zoning district. It also identifies commercial services, such as a coffee shop or restaurant or other types of uses, as a representative land use. So for those reasons, the staff find that the proposed zoning change is in alignment with the comprehensive plan. The second criterion is whether the character of the surrounding neighborhood is taken into account. Again, here's the zoning map from our interactive zoning map on what's on our website. The property is green right now, showing that it's agriculture. And as you can see, much of downtown Fate is zoned agriculture, which is generally basically the default zoning. If a property hasn't been proactively zoned to something else, it's agriculture. To the south is Lafayette Crossing, which is that mixed-use project approved last year and currently getting ready to start. To the the southeast is a commercial center where we have Stags, Specs, and a couple of upcoming other commercial developments. Immediately across the street is a future office site, which has yet to construct and it's kind of been sitting there for a while, but it is zoned Old Town Core and is approved for a future office. And then, of course, immediately surrounding the property is a good number of single-family homes, some more legacy homes and some more recently constructed. Again, W. Crawford Avenue is immediately adjacent on the east side, which is FM 551. It's a TxDOT facility. And the third criterion, any other factors required or allowed by Texas law and case law. There's nothing really that jumps out in this case. This isn't a criterion that often triggers anything, but one that we do take a look at just to make sure we're not missing anything. So as a zoning request, we do send out public notices in a couple ways. We publish the notice in the local newspaper at least 15 days prior to tonight's hearing. We also send out mailed notices to all properties within 200 feet of the property boundary at least 10 days prior to tonight's hearing in accordance with state law and local code. So all these properties shown in yellow are those that received a mailed notice, and then, of course, the newspaper publication. As of today at noon, we sent out 17 notices, and as of today at noon, we received no written, verbal, or any comments from anybody from the community. So there's nothing to report on that. We do conduct fiscal analyses on zoning applications, and so in this case, we have a 1,329 square foot coffee shop being proposed for this site. The comprehensive fiscal analysis spreadsheet is in your packet in the exhibit, but in short, what we calculated was that the city would likely build out an annual revenue of about $8,300. That includes property and sales tax collections. Our expected proportionate costs to serve this site is about $3,000, and that generally encompasses general administrative services, public safety, and in some cases, roadway maintenance and repair. In this case, it's a TxDOT facility, so there's no road costs associated with the project. The net value per acre, which means the value of the improved site minus any roadway costs, is about $1.1 million. The revenue to cost ratio, which means the amount of money or revenue that the city would receive per year when compared to the amount of cost obligation that the city would be subject to, is 2.71 to 1. And we didn't calculate a public to private ratio, which is another productivity ratio we'll talk about at another time, because there's no public road infrastructure serving this site. And again, this fiscal analysis, it's something that we've been doing for a long time. It's very important for us to understand the fiscal implications of projects as they come forth, but it's not something that we base our recommendation on. It's simply educational and contextual, and I want to remind you guys that as you're deliberating these items, to keep that in mind, that it's just for educational purposes. So with all of that in mind, the staff's recommendation for ZR 25008 is approval without any conditions. I'm happy to take any questions now or after you meet the applicant.
So I have a question for you, Ryan. When they do widen Crawford Road, it's not going to impact that side of the highway. It's going to impact push more into the other properties.
So we've seen schematics, the 100% schematics of the FM 551 widening. Still needs to get funded. There's still a lot of work to be done there.
Yeah,
They're going to go out both ways. And
Okay.
so when we worked with Will and his team on this project, and we've already seen site schematics, we know what they're planning on building. That's not up to consideration tonight, so that's why it's not in front of you. We told them about that. We gave them copies of the schematics. Same with Lafayette Crossing. When they've started to plan out their site, they're putting a big old buffer on their site so that when they come in and acquire the necessary right-of-way, they're not going to have to disrupt their operation. So it's good proactivity on their part. They know it's coming, and they're accommodating that in their site plan.
okay. Anyone questions?
There's a floodplain that sits like right on the other side of the street. Is there one that technically still sits right there, like where the kind of just off of the site, like on the other side? It's just marked out by the Lafayette Crossing development currently that's planned.
That's a good question. So this map here, this is again is our interactive zoning map. The blue is what's currently a FEMA 100-year floodplain. There is a letter of map revision under review right now, and maybe it might have been approved and it's not reflected on this, that skinnies up that floodplain because it's in a defined channel that's been improved. So there's no regulatory floodplain on the west side of Crawford, and we follow the FEMA maps. We don't really investigate further beyond that. As you can see with the Lafayette Crossing project, they're going to be doing quite a bit of water detention on their site, and so that's going to mitigate some of the existing flooding issues that we do know exist on Crawford and during high flows. But as far as this site goes, we don't see any impacts of flooding on that. Any retention or detention requirements that would come out of this are going to be dealt with at the civil plan review stage, which follows zoning approval.
I have a question. Crawford, TxDOT's going to widen it. Is it going to be 3 lanes or 4 lane through there?
So there's a transition right here. This is probably going to be where the taper is located. As you go north into the heart of downtown, it's going to be 3 lane, meaning it's going to have 1 lane in each direction, then a center turn lane, which, there's some stuff we're going to try to work on with TxDOT as far as design goes. When you get to this point, though, because you start to get into that heavy commercial area, it's going to split into basically a 5 lane. So there's going to be 2 lanes in each direction, plus that center lane, which is going to be a median-controlled center lane, which is going to have turning movements at designated locations, but it's not going to be a free-flow turning section. So that's how it's going to work. We're expecting that there will hopefully be a signal at that intersection just south to the southwest of that property. We're working with TxDOT to try to get that warranted now because there's going to be a lot of turning movements going into that shopping center. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of transition to try to match the character and anticipated traffic volumes along that corridor. So it'll be kind of that taper location there. But there will be there will likely be a southbound to westbound turning lane just up against their property as it goes toward that intersection.
I have one. So this is about the approval criteria of matching the characteristics of the neighborhood, surrounding neighborhood. And this is more, I guess it's more of a general question. When we look at that approval criteria, do we look at just what's currently there, or do we take into consideration what is future going to be planned there as part of that neighborhood characteristic?
I think you want to look at both of them because we do expect that there's going to be an evolution in this downtown, especially along this corridor. So to base the decisions on kind of an older neighborhood is probably not looking at what the full breadth of the planning that's gone into this downtown, what it has entailed and what that means for the future of this district. So I certainly would look at the character of the surrounding as far as, what potential impacts could be there and all that, but I'd also look at the future as what's trying to be accomplished through the zoning as well as the comprehensive plan.
Okay. Now, One final, and this is just because we were just having this conversation about the last one, the right in, right out. Knowing that you said this is, eventually, we know it's not part of the plan now, and it could be 10 years, that this is going to be the tight taper area, are we concerned about left-hand turns into this until that happens, or left turns out? Like, has that been thought, or should we think about that in the future?
Well, this project will be subject to coordination with TxDOT because it has a driveway onto a TxDOT facility.
Okay.
So that's all going to be dealt with at that point. I don't expect that this will be a right in, right out. I think there will be a left in opportunity. Otherwise, that's going to be very detrimental
Yes.
to their operation.
Absolutely.
In the future condition with the full improvements to Crawford, you're going to have that center turn lane, so you're not going to have, too much of a problem. I believe that they're planning on moving their driveway as far north as possible on their property to keep it away from the intersection and not get choked up too much when the traffic backup inevitably happens for the shopping center.
And, I mean, is there an option for them to tie into Lafayette
It
Crossing in
was,
the
it was
future?
contemplated. There's some physical barriers to that. I don't
Okay.
know if that'll work.
Okay, thank you.
Right, I have another question. Let me think what it was. Was TxDOT going to will this be developed before the street is widened?
I believe so, yeah. It's okay.
Do we know what the hours of operation are? And are those people, are there any lights and stuff going to be in their
Sure. Well,
backyard?
Will is here, the applicant representative, so he'll be able to answer operational hours questions. We have requirements that limit photometric impacts for neighbors, so you can't have bleed over, you have to have hooded lights. Their site concept shows a wall around their whole property to mitigate impacts, to those neighbors. So we have requirements to make sure that the commercial impacts, are limited on adjacent residential uses.
No other questions? Presentation?
How's everybody doing tonight? Ryan, thank you very much for the staff summary. My name's
Sir-
Will.
okay,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was going to say, state your name and
Yeah,
and
of course,
address, sorry.
Yeah, of course. My name's Will Burrows. I'm the president and co-founder of Huey's Coffee. My brother and Sam and I started our first store back in 2022 in Gilmer, Texas. We're based in Mount Pleasant, Texas, just about an hour and a half east of here. And yeah, that's just, I don't have a presentation today, just here to answer any questions.
This is more about business question. So I know you guys just opened up in Greenville, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your furthest east or west that you go right now? Or are we going to be the furthest west if approved?
Greenville is our furthest west location at the moment.
So we're looking at approximately a 30-minute distance from your nearest location?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Okay. I think that's all I have for right now.
Yes, ma'am.
What are your hours of operation?
In Greenville, our operational hours are 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sundays.
And that would be the same thing here?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry, just one more.
Yeah.
Is there a reason that you chose this place instead of something else that's already zoned commercial?
We were just looking at Fate as a growing community, looking, with Greenville opening and how well receptive we've been to that community there. Just looking to, kind of continue our way down the I-30 corridor, with Fate being as rapidly growing as it is. It was a natural, spot for us to take a look. This property stood out to us. We actually weren't aware of the Lafayette crossing when we first started conversation on this property, but, finding that out made it even more attractive for us. And yeah, no real reason for choosing this one out of, opposed to any other ones. It's just it's a nice location.
Did you happen to look at anything south?
Yes, ma'am. We did originally look south of the interstate, down where Taco Bell and, is it an O'Reilly's that went in right next to it? Or AutoZone? Something? there's nothing going in back there? I thought I had heard someone.
There's some
someone had-
other stuff going in there, but it's not there yet, yeah.
Okay, not there yet. Got it. But yeah, we did look there. Just, there is a block that's available, is going to be developed. This one stood out to us, and we thought it would be we did like the idea of being on the west side of the road, to be easily accessible to southbound traffic. I believe there's quite a bit of residential development taking place north of town center, and I imagine there will be a fair amount of traffic southbound in the mornings. Obviously, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. is our busy hours at most of our locations, so seemed fitting.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is noted for a public hearing. So at 6:57, I'll open up a public hearing.
We received no cards to speak tonight.
All right, and at 6:57, I'm going to close the public hearing. Anything else to discuss? Or do we want to, make a motion? Oh, sure.
I'm sorry, I just have a procedural question, because I know this meets all the plans, and you guys are, recommending we say yes, whatever. I mean, can you say no? I mean, can we say no to this? Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, you'd want to state your reasons for a recommendation for denial, but that's certainly your prerogative.
All right, so with that, well, first off, any other discussion? All right, then I'll take a motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve. Sorry, forgot the rest of that. Make sure I'm right here. I want to make a motion to approve the application for approval of a zoning change request from agricultural to neighborhood commercial to allow for a drive-through coffee shop plus a walk-up order window in case number ZR-25-008.
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. We can vote. All right, motion passes. Congratulations. And welcome to fate. And item number 5.
Is that me?
Yeah, Director of Planning and Development Services reports announcements pertaining to the city's activities, upcoming events, future legislative activities, and other matters related thereto.
Okay. Real briefly, I do want to share that every year the Texas chapter of the American Planning Association, which the American Planning Association is a nationwide organization for folks in my profession who, make sure that we're following, good ethics in our practice, are learning best practices on planning and urban design. The Texas chapter has an award that they issue to cities that are recognized for following a good planning practice, and that includes keeping our plans up to date and following best practices, providing opportunities for staff and planning and zoning commissioners to participate in educational opportunities and whatnot. And so for the third year in a row, we've actually been awarded this. This is the Richard F. Lilly FAICP Planning Excellence Award. And so, it's a big deal for us to make sure that we are just staying at the top of our game and doing the best that we can as a very small organization to do good land use planning. And so we're happy about that recognition. We'll be putting up our plaque over in the lobby and presenting it to the city council in a couple weeks. But I want to share with y'all, I know many of you are new on the Planning and Zoning Commission, but as some of you are picking up, it's a complex process, and it can be a very difficult process sometimes. And so it's important for us that you know and are comfortable with the policies and practices and processes that we all go through, and that our staff are knowledgeable and can provide as good of guidance as possible as we're going through some of these projects. So anyway, I want to announce that to you, and I think that's about it. There will be some upcoming training opportunities, and of course, as soon as I hear about them, I'll be sure to reach out and let you all know about them. Try to give you a little bit more notice than the last one that I sent out, but want to make sure that you feel like you have the opportunity to supplement your knowledge through some of these training activities. So you'll be hearing from me when I learn about some of those. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brian. With that, item number 6, adjournment. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Do we need to, do a motion for the consent agenda to approve it?
We already.
We did? No. See?
I think they did get that, yeah.
No,
They're looking out, though.
Appreciate the ask.
You voted yes. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
I have a second vote. Motion passes.